Wanadhani ya si bongo lala.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Wanadhani ya si bongo lala.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Wambie punde imechoka sana.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Wambie punde imechoka sana.
Tumejamu sijifanye uja notice.
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready.
What? Anyway, beggars have no shame. I mean, that is why we have dissed our previous sponsors, literally ridiculed the West when we're in China so that we can get their money. We have abused our neighboring East African countries and called them underdeveloped. Yo.
President William Ruto's visit to China could, on the surface, look ordinary, but its timing and context speak volumes. Now, let's break it down. Now let's start with the timing. It comes at a time when the US and China are embroiled in a serious trade war. Two, it also comes at a time when the US Secretary of State Mark Rubio was set to land in Kenya on the 28th of April. That's on Monday. Now, to give it more context, it also comes at a time when the US hit Kenya with a 10% tariff on all goods it exports to the US. Now, that combined with the timing, paints a picture of a country that's slowly shifting from looking west to looking east. Now, what's the impact? So what impact is that a trip going to have? Now, the instant impact of that trip is that the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has cancelled his planned visit to Kenya and Ethiopia without stating reasons for that cancellation. Now, of course, in the grand scheme of things, Kenya seems to be shifting its allegiance from the west to the east. And of course, diplomacy is volatile, diplomacy changes, and yeah, we might be looking east right now, but of course a time will come when we may have to look west again.
It started with Congo and Rwanda. He messed it up. Then he went to Sudan. It is a mess up. Now he has come to Uganda and Tanzania.
One thing is very clear, though, that as a country, we are willing to bend the knee shamelessly to anyone that is willing to jangle some coins on our faces. We started with the West and we really kissed there a lot, moved to the East, took their money, and now we are in China in the middle of a China-US war, asking for more money. So more loans, more expenditure, zero development in the country, and the worst case of it all is that our president stands on a podium and speaks the way it's Africans' time when he's speaking to these modern-day oppressors, while locally his people and his government continues to fight other African countries that want to establish themselves and cut the links with the Western countries and their ridiculous loans that always have strings attached that countries struggle to detach themselves from. Wow.
The man with the hardest job in the world is the advisor of President William Ruto. In the middle of US and China fighting economically, Ruto makes the worst decision of his life to visit China, and he goes there to badmouth America, in short, and also to mess our relationships with Tanzania and Uganda. But to make matters worse, he gets into the mix of trade or tariffs war of US and China, and the UN, and the IMF, blah, 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 blah. Now, US Secretary of State has cancelled his trip to Kenya. I don't know how true this is, but that is in the news.
The second aspect that we're going to have a look at are the revenue, the tax value. Majority of our business people are losing due to the shift in the East African bloc. The focus now is running to Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda. To an extent, even Kenyans are going to Uganda to buy goods and come sell back to China. Meaning that the trading in Kenya is suffocating. We are suffocating. Therefore, we request that you look at the value. Just review kidogo from 18% at some point, songesha at 12%.
Good morning. You see, the other day I listened to President William Ruto bad-mouthing IMF and the UN Security Council and saying how bad they are and how they are going to fall and fail, and how they are just pretenders, they are not helping in anything, while he was in China. Remember, this is in the middle of the trade war between US and China, and US is one of the permanent, or rather a member in the UN who has a veto power on voting. But wait until you hear what he said yesterday. He has, of course, badmouthed everyone. He was pleasing his host in China. But
hey guys, now Kasongo has finally done an investment deal with China ya 126 billion. Na hapo hivyo chini nimekubreakia down the deal, ndo akapata ikakuwa 126 billion. And you know, this is si deal peke yake, this are loan. Na unajua the limit yenye si tunafaa kuwa naye ni 55%. But now by the end of March we are tuko na 65.7% of GDP. That is 11.02 billion. Na Kasongo ndio ingine ameongeza. Na unakumbuka Gachagua na Muturi walituambia deal zote Ruto anafanya ni za kujibenefit, not only for Kenya, ya kujibenefit. Now you can imagine, hiyo ni 126 billion. Wow. Okay.
Now, it seems the president has made a cold turkey 360 turnaround and officially has issued a very controversial, ironical statement, and controversial in the same sense. He says that, one, Israel-Palestine agreement should be a two-state solution. First of all, Israel does not believe in the existence of Palestine. They do not believe that Palestine exists as a sovereign entity. Second of all, he says he believes in the one China policy. Does it mean that the president supports the invasion of Taiwan by China? Remember, when the president was, of course, traveling from Kenya to the Republic of China, Marco Rubio was planning, the Secretary of State for the United States was planning to come to Kenya. Effectively, he has indefinitely postponed his trip to Kenya. Really, right now, while the US and the Republic of China are having a tariff war, is when you're going to travel to China, really, as the Republic of Kenya, as the president of the Republic of Kenya, and you're going to offer such controversial statement. Then, of course, he goes ahead and says, oh, you know, Uganda, Tanzania, these are the least developed countries. We are in the middle, at least the middle income, middle developed countries level. Really, like, okay, we know it's true that we are doing better than most of our neighbors. But that is when you're going to talk about that we are at least better than the others, they're the least, and we are better than them. I know our economy is doing okay, and we are almost surpassing Ethiopia. But are we going to offer controversial statements and destroy our foreign policy for the sense of, what are we even doing this for? And then you go and embarrass your own countrymen and say, oh, you know, Kenyans do not give compliments easily. Yes, because maybe we do not trust in your leadership. Maybe because we think there's something wrong with you and your administration. But that statement that you offered about one China policy and a two-state solution to Israel and Palestine is contradictory, because our partners, who are the United States, do not even believe that Palestine exists, because their greatest ally is Israel. And the United States does not believe in the invasion of Taiwan. And the one China policy insinuates that Taiwan and China are together. They are like one state, for those who do not understand. And the United States, of course, does not recognize Taiwan as a sovereign state, but it believes in human rights. It does not believe in the invasion the way, of course, the Russia-Ukraine invasion happened. And the president has made this mistake time and again. You remember when he said, I called Macron. That was the same thing.
And that is a mistake that happened in our foreign policy. You remember what happened after that as a result of that. And there are very many things that happened. Tshisekedi could not even negotiate with us. They hate us. Our neighbors hate us because of our foreign policy. What is happening?
Matagi pia ni kisiasa, inamfuata. Hatutaki mambo ya siasa na wale wengine ambao wananyemelewa. La mwisho ambalo mimi nitazungumzia kabla niwape nafasi waseme wenyewe ni kwamba sisi wote tunajua kwamba William Ruto sasa wako Uchina. Na tunasikia ameenda kukopa pesa za kujenga reli ambayo alisema ya kwamba imebaki kwa kichaka. You remember he said that it is in a bush, it is in Uhuru's chamba. Hiyo ukora yote alisema. Na sasa ameenda kuwaomba pesa wale ambao waliwatukana. Maybe they will be gracious enough to give him money. But what we are also asking is, with all this borrowing, what do they have to show for it? Kukopa unaweza kopa, lakini wapi maendeleo? Hatutaki hiyo mambo ya kukopa pesa ndio ununue saa ama uanze kufanya mambo ambayo tuliona wakifanya pale beleni. And also as they engage the other foreign they need to be very coherent with their foreign policy. Usiende Uchina kutukana wa Amerika na timu ile ingine iko wapi? Amerika. Badi is with World Bank pande hii, Ruto is with the Chinese pande hii, na Ruto is castigating IMF while Badi is seated with IMF. That incoherency is making us look bad as a country.
The other thing that we should get very worried about, and which is, of course, it's shameful and embarrassing, is that when we go borrowing this money, basically like, begging for assistance from these foreign capitals. And then when we come back home, we exhibit, or we lead lifestyles, that exhibit opulence. That we see, for example, the president dishing out huge amounts of money out there in cash, actually, not in checks. Then we get very worried that, a beggar, you go with a bowl to beg. Then when you go back home, you are overspending, there is corruption, there is opulence. I think we need to rethink again about this. But talking about the headline in the Standard, where the president slammed the World Bank because he was in China. I think he was in his character. That is what President Ruto does. When he visits you, he'll praise you. When he goes to your neighbor, he will say how bad you are. And that is in his character. In fact, if you checked during the campaigns, anytime he went around anywhere near Luo Nyanza, he would call Raila Amolo Odinga Agwambo. But when he comes to the mountain, he would call him a witch. And so that is him. That is what he does. So when he is with you, relevance and point no, Charalge, wait for your time. It is the Standard that has written that has a headline that, of course, he slammed the World Bank, while his Minister for Finance,
how does Raila Odinga come
the
into
Treasury,
the conversation?
I'm just trying to explain that it was in his character that when he is with you, he will praise you. But when he is far from you, he will say how bad you are. I don't know what makes it very hard for Senator Cheralgei to understand. I'm just trying to explain the character of the person of the president. So there is he cannot say where is the Nyanza and whatever is coming in. I'm just explaining he was in his character. But then even when you want to practice infidelity, you do not, because Senator Chiaranga has put it very well, and he has said that we have to play both sides, which is strategic, and I agree with him. But even when you want to practice infidelity, you do not have to speak ill of the other partner. You know, just come and talk nicely to the partner you are with. You don't have to. So he didn't have to, he didn't have to slam the World Bank. He only needed to talk well of China, which was bringing these PPP programs. But PPP, the very PPP, you know, Senator Chiaranga, I don't know what makes him so impatient. He never had me interject.
No, because he's misleading the country.
You will get your time to prove to me.
Okay.
You'll get your time to prove that misleading the country. So what I'm saying is that you do not have to talk ill of the other person if you want to play both, sides. You just talk well of the person that you are with, because of course you will have time with the other person or with the other party. And so I think that is what my view is about this.
Ruto tunataka kwanza kupunguza tamu yake. Kama ingewezekana hii mwaka ingeisha kama huyo mtu amekaa kwa kiti. Aende nyumbani, kazi imemshinda.
You like me, why them a fight me? You like me, chewing a bone, a bite. We don't trust them even if we bust them. We don't trust them, stay far, not touch them. We don't trust them, hope your man a suck them. Informer me say you must them.